All right, it is 11 o'clock on the dot, so I'm still seeing people coming on. Thank you so much for being here today. We're so glad you're here. My name is Ellie Snyder, and I am the Director of Marketing Automation here at Enable. And whether this is your first time interacting with us or you're a longtime client of ours, we're just glad you're here today. And today we're going to be talking about a hot topic, cybersecurity, and this is something that affects every single one of us. It's so important that they made a whole month out of it. So this is actually Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And we hope that you've been enjoying our posts and blogs on this topic and the tips that we've been posting on social media. I hope those have been helpful for you and your team. So we're just excited to learn from Wes on this important topic. But before we get started, a few logistical things that I wanted to go over. You can pause and rewind the webinar at any time. Just use the icons in the bottom left of your screen. If you did join anonymously, we would love to know that you were here. So type your name in the Q&A, and that just goes to us. We won't publish that, but then we know that you were here. And like I said, if you have questions, we're going to have a good amount of time for Q&A at the end. So be thinking of questions, thinking of any applicable scenarios that we can maybe talk about with your church. But put those in the Q&A, and we'll get to it at the very end. We also have Travis, who's our Director of Technology, that will be helping us answer those questions today. So he'll be in the background kind of helping us out as well. So I'm going to introduce our speaker to you guys. We have Wes with us today, and Wes Packard has been at Enable for a little over a year, I think, and he is one of our strategy consultants. So he helps our teams and clients with their IT strategies. So really helps bring their vision to life. And we're just lucky to have him. So Wes, I'm excited to learn from you today. And without further ado, I'll let you take it from here.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Ellie. So today, one thing that we really want to talk about, since it's October is Cybersecurity Month. And we want to take a little bit different approach. We didn't really want to just define cybersecurity and tell you what it is. We kind of want to give you a little bit more information on how it can affect you and what you should do during a cybersecurity attack and whatnot. So you have a little bit more real world information to take back and learn and understand from. But with doing that, I do want to go over a few basics of what cybersecurity is, some of the terms and terminology, so that when we go through this, you'll understand it and follow along that way. The basics really pretty much are cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is really protecting your systems, which is comprised of hardware, software, and really importantly, your data, protecting those from cybersecurity attacks themselves. This is challenging, really because there's more and more devices on a network now. Essentially, there's more devices than there are people in an organization. Most people have a laptop, most people have a phone, an iPad, a tablet of some kind. So you have multiple devices per person. Then on top of that, you have a lot more devices that are network aware inside your organization. TVs, printers, all kinds of other cameras and this, that, and the other. They're all connected. So there's more devices that are available for attack to be exploited or utilized in some manner for those. So that's one of the big challenges. The second is it's a balance. It's tough. You've got security on one side and you've got users' usability on the other. If you make it really strong and secure, your usability is going to go down and your users aren't going to be happy, and it's going to be frustrating and aggravating. But you don't want to be too lax in your security and let your users do whatever they want and have free reign. So it's finding that balance on top of making sure that is mirroring and going along with the market of how the attacks are starting to come in and change as well. So that's kind of the basics. That's the challenges that I really wanted to cover on that. And then next, I kind of want to move in and kind of tell you guys what the major types of cybersecurity threats and concepts are that are there. So first, there's phishing. Phishing, we've heard this term. It's pretty much sending out a cast of emails to see what kind of information response they can get from an organization. Like I said, it's casting a wide area network like phishing. They send a group of emails out, nothing specific, just trying to get you to either install an application or to reveal some more information so that they can then exploit that. There is a little subsection of that that's called spear phishing. Spear phishing goes into a more of a targeted approach where the attacker knows that they might want to target the accounting department of an organization and be able to exploit funds or something along those lines. So they might go and do what's called data mining. That's where they look at different sources and try to gather information, primarily like social media. They'll look at the organization's main website and go, oh, this person is the CFO. I can then start targeting things so it looks like it's coming from the CFO specifically instead of something that just looks a lot more random coming at you. The next one is ransomware. That is another one that we hear a lot about in the news. An organization will be hit with ransomware. Essentially what that is they encrypt your data or they make a copy of your data to later use to exploit money from you in some manner. So they'll encrypt it and say you got to pay a ransom to get a key to be able to unencrypt it, or vice versa. They'll get a copy of it and threaten to release your data, your information that you have on your users or your members publicly, and then exploit you to pay a ransom. Paying the ransom doesn't always guarantee that you're going to be safe. So really protecting yourself from ransomware is extremely important. The next one that falls in is malware. This is really the tool set, the technical tool set that an attacker will use to gain access to your system, to exploit flaws in your system, to encrypt the data, to get the data, access the data, encrypt it in some way. So that's really the next major section of types of threats that come in, is those tool sets. The last is the social engineering aspect of it. So I touched base on that just a little bit ago with the data mining, but that's kind of what that is. That's where they're using a more targeted and intelligent approach of what they're trying to do. They're going to look at social media to get more information. They'll be able to look and see potentially sports teams you like, university you went to, or even kids and pets names, and that helps them build more of a targeted database on being able to get to your passwords and whatnot. Sometimes it goes, oh, they use this tool over here. It's an easy exploit, and maybe they can get logged into a system that's not associated with you professionally, but more personally. Then once they get into that, they might get more passwords, which then helps them build to come at you from a greater depth. So now that we know what cybersecurity basically is and different ways that they can get you, I really want to kind of get into a little bit of a comparison here. So the myth versus reality that you'll see. This is a great infographic. We'll make it available to you afterwards so that you can take this information away with you. But this is really what you think is happening, but what's really going on. So a lot of people think a strong password is all you really need. That's not entirely true. Strong passwords are great. Long passwords are great. The longer the password, the better. That gets difficult. Long passwords are easy for machines to remember and do. It's very difficult for us to manage. So one suggestion I do make is do have a long password. Make it 4 or 5 4-letter words that are random. That's easy as a person to remember, but it's very difficult for a machine to really crack because it's a longer password. Second is really have different passwords for all your accounts. That is critical, because if they get a password for one account and it lets them into all the rest of your accounts, very dangerous. I know it gets difficult remembering those passwords. Password management tools are great for that. They're good to have to help you remember those things. And then lastly, a tool that is becoming very, very popular is multi-factor authentication. And essentially what that is having some sort of physical device on you that authenticates you on top of your password. So it can be a cell phone that when you log into your email, it buzzes and you click, yep, that's me, I want to log in. Essentially what that's doing is someone who's trying to attack you or get into your accounts from a distance, afar, they don't have that device. They might have your password, but they don't have that second layer that you physically have in your hand. So that's just one more layer that really adds quite a bit of security to your passwords. The next myth really goes into thinking that, hey, we're a church. What do we have that anybody would really want a value of information? Well, that's not true. Because you do have information and you do have quite a bit of valuable information. You have members' names, you have contact information, addresses, birth dates, you might even have bank account information in your system. So it might not be that the attackers are targeting you to get the information to use specifically against you, but it could be information that they are using you as a data mining source to use to target somewhere else. So they might get your constituents' banking account information and then go target them individually with their bank account information. So please keep in mind that all data is important and it can be exploited in some manner, in some fashion. Next is just thinking some basic tools like antivirus and malware will keep you safe. Those are tools. With everything else, the more layers you add, the more defensive that you can be. So simply protecting, the physical systems in your organization, that's not enough. We really need to protect against the social engineering aspect of that. That's where they really can gain access. The best defense against that is user training. And I cannot say that enough, and I'm sure you're going to hear that a lot throughout this presentation, but user training is critical. Making sure that you have great user training is perfect. And then lastly, thinking that on top of that, our staff is smart. They won't fall for these scams. Every day people fall for cons and scams of all different kinds, not just cybersecurity. People of all intelligence levels do. It happens. They can find you at your weakest point when you're super busy and you're just not thinking and following through with things. So again, training is very important. Making sure it's consistent and repetitive and works well is where that really falls into a factor of that. So those were the myths and realities that I really wanted to share with you guys today so that you can see those. So now moving on, now that we kind of know what cybersecurity is and some real world aspects to it, how do we combat all this? What do we do? Really that's moving into, like I said, education, training, and a plan. Those are key. Having a plan in place to know how to see that you've been attacked or been exposed or what to do in those situations. Knowing that you've got training in place is very critical. That's really big and important. Knowing that you've got a training program that is repetitive, because you want it to be repetitive because you want to keep that information in people's minds. People remember what they're told first and what they're told last and fade in the middle. So if you keep it short and repetitive and frequent, then you can keep that information current. Secondly, as the cybersecurity attacks evolve, then the training can evolve with it and provide newer, more frequent information that goes along with it. So really, plan that has all the information you need to know on detecting a cybersecurity attack, what to do during and what to do post is important. Adding user training to that, and then and secondly is all the technology tools that can be put in place to help you with that. So next is the breach itself. How do you know that you've actually been breached? There's different ways to know this. Breaches can occur locally on your system, in the sense that a malware tool might have been sent through an email, one of your users clicked on it and installed it, and now it's going onto your file server and it's starting to encrypt all your data. That's one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is something that can occur in the cloud. So as a lot of software packages are being moved to cloud-based, that really becomes a vendor and moves you into a relationship with a vendor. That vendor has their own system. They can then be attacked themselves. Your data is housed there. They had the breach, they had your data, but now you still have responsibilities because it's your information that you are putting into the system. So those are the two areas that things could pop up and have effects, and be aware of that. It can be you, or it could be a vendor that you're partnered with that has your information on it. And secondly, if you do have a breach, don't panic, because after listening to this, you're going to have a plan. You're going to know what to do. You're going to have your structure in place, and you'll know how to react and how to see that it's happening and what's going on. So obviously, there's tools that will be in place technically for you to be aware of. It will be, giving you prompts, this, that, and the other. And then secondly, if there is a breach, especially with a vendor, that vendor is going to send you some sort of notification. It's going to be official. You're going to get email notification that they've had a breach. You're going to get a paper copy that is official with the breach, depending on the extensive reach of the breach. It's going to contain information on how it occurred, what occurred, what steps they're taking to mitigate the breach from happening again. It's going to have information on if your data was exposed, what parts of your data were exposed. It could be multiple parts, and it's going to also provide you with other information for you to then go and execute your plan as far as legal aspects and anything that you might need to do and follow along those lines. So most importantly, how do you know what's happened? You're going to get some sort of notification through either technical tools or through some sort of official notification from a vendor or something along those lines. So pre-attacks. So this really goes into, like I've said many times, have a plan. You want to know who to call, who to contact, what steps you really need to take in that sense. So have a plan. Make sure your training is good. And I've said it before, keep it short, keep it simple. Repetitive is very important. Keeping it so that the training can be understood. People do take it seriously. That's very important. And we don't want people to go, oh, it's just something I have to do. It's part of what I need to do. If you make it short and easy, people will do it. They'll take their 10, 15 minutes, and then they'll do that repetitively versus one big long training session. Next is insurance. Cyber insurance is a really great option to consider. The cyber insurance policies, there's different kinds, so it's something that would need to be evaluated based on everything. But the highlights of what cybersecurity insurance really will cover is costs of mitigating cybersecurity attacks. That could be your internal team, plus when you're partnered with Enable, it can cover the cost of Enable to help you mitigate these attacks and resolve them. They offer legal assistance, and that legal assistance is specific to cybersecurity attacks. This is what they do all day long. They know what they need, specifics on how to deal with the legal aspects of it. Any legal obligations amongst yourself as the organization that's contacting your constituents or members that have been exposed. How do you contact them? What's your responsibility for contacting them? And then also another big area is if there's been any public defamation or anything like that to your reputation, they can go back and help you with rebuilding that and getting that redefined and purposed out along those lines. So really pre-attack, plan, know what you need to do, get your training in place. The best defense is training. If your users are educated, they will know how to react to this. And then adding another layer of protection, which is just insurance. Smart advice just to have some good insurance to protect you on that. And then post-attack. So once you've been exposed and you can and you know what's happening and what's occurring, then first thing you need to do, contact Enable or your IT department. Let them know that something is occurring. Let them start investigating and see what's going on. Let them start gathering the information that might be needed. Contact your legal department. Get them started on anything that's happening. Let them begin their process. And then if you do have cybersecurity insurance, contact that carrier immediately, because they will then have very specific steps that you need to start taking to protect your organization from what is occurring. And at the very least, executive pastors should know who these people are. But having a plan in place that's written, that you can pull out of a drawer and know what you need to do moving forward, that will make the stress level go down. It'll make it a little bit easier for you to understand and not feel that you're trying to be too reactive, that you are actually following through with what plan that you have that is occurring. So those are what's really should be done during after an attack has occurred. Now, this is great. So I have two stories. One of a client that I worked with a while back that was prepared for a cybersecurity attack, and one that was unprepared. Very similar situations, and really want to contrast and compare those so you guys can see the difference between being prepared and the outcome, and being unprepared and what ultimately did happen to them. So the unprepared company, they're structured so that they do quite a bit of wire transfers. It's part of their business model that they transfer money back and forth and whatnot in their business. And the assistant to the CFO received an email, looked completely legit. It had the email, the CFO's signature. That was standard. It was written kind of in the style of what the CFO usually does, and it was along the lines of, "I'm in this meeting. I'm currently busy. I can't get to this. Can you transfer this money out to blah?" And it had all the information to transfer out. And I need this done ASAP. Well, the assistant to the CFO did do the transfer, and it went through. They later found out that was a cybersecurity breach. It was fake. The CFO did not send that email. There was no need to transfer that money out. It was simply someone who had gone out, done some data mining. They figured out who the CFO was. They were able to get a copy of what their signature would look like and replicate it with the logos and everything along those lines, be able to mask how they sent that email so it looked like it came from the CFO, and kind of targeted how to request a wireless transfer and also who to send it to. So they targeted that very well with that email. And then long story short, the funds did transfer and they were gone. So what happened? Yes, they did the data mining. The company did not have any training. They were not aware of these things could occur. They weren't aware of how to detect them or how to notice them or even just question it. They didn't have any idea or a plan on dealing with wire transfers to verbally confirm them. And with that being said, they didn't even have insurance to cover what it was. So at the end of the day, they lost their large amount that they transferred out, unfortunately, and there was not much of a recourse they really could go through. Now, to compare that to, I had another similar client that had the same type of cybersecurity breach that did occur. They don't do the wire transfers as often, but they did. They were data mined, so do keep in mind that it was a very similar situation. The assistant to the CFO received an email, but the difference here was, which made a big difference, was they had training. The assistant was able to go, this seems a little odd. This doesn't seem like something that I would be requested by. B, they were able to look at the email through the training and some other tools and be able to see it's not a real email. It didn't really come from the CFO, even though the body of the email looked like it. 3, they had a policy in place that any wire transfer over an X amount of dollars, which was a small amount, must be verbally confirmed regardless of the situation. It didn't matter if the CFO was in a meeting or anything like that. Anything had to be verbally confirmed. And so the assistant followed through. She followed her training, she followed looking at the tools, and then she followed the company policy, which is part of the plan, and called the CFO. And lo and behold, the CFO is like, no, I did not send an email. I did not request a wire transfer, and don't do it. So they did not transfer that large amount of money out. They fortunately did not lose their funds. They did have cybersecurity insurance, did not need it, but it was there. And they were able to follow through and do a post-mortem and see how did this email get through? Because they were attacked, so they followed their plan. They contacted the IT department and their legal department to see if there was anything that needed to be done. IT was able to dig in and do traces and figure out what was happening and what was occurring. And with the breach actually happening and being a real attack that was real to that organization, they did another little mini training session, said, hey, this really did happen. Everybody really be aware of what's going on. It does occur. So that's really night and day. No plan, no training, nothing in place. They lost their funds. A plan, training, and policies and insurance, they were able to protect their funds and not lose their funds. But still remember, you can have everything in place and you can still be attacked. So that's the two that I really stories I wanted to share with you guys, and you can see some real world examples with that. So with that, that should cover everything that we really want to talk about with cybersecurity, as far as giving you guys confidence in dealing with it and at least knowing how to deal with the situation, and move into some Q&A with you guys and see if you guys have any questions for us.
That's awesome. Wes, thank you for all that. I think those examples are so helpful to see, because that's something, those are real people, right? It's real people doing the act, and it's real people responding to, the cyber attack. So I think that that's so important to see that it really can happen, and we've just got to be prepared. That's the main difference. So we did get a couple questions. And so the first one that I have here is kind of going back to the password, password keeper, long passwords, strong passwords. So it says, what's the difference in the built-in password keeper in my web browser versus a paid password management tool?
Gotcha. So you can have a paid password management tool. They do offer free versions of it. In fact, I use one. I use one called LastPass. It's great. I have it on my phone. I have it integrated with my browser. It can do a little bit more. You can store more critical information in there and keep it locked down for future references, as far as like social security numbers or something like that you would need frequently on that. But the difference is that's a more secure tool in the sense that it's storing the information. You can use it in other places and not just be stored in something that's in your browser, because if something were to happen to your machine, that information's on your machine, it's in one place, it's gone at that point. If you were to lose your machine, and recovering those passwords would be more difficult at that point, where if you have your third-party tool, you can, you have your one long, secure, super secure password to get into it, to utilize that. And so, yeah, typically we recommend the tool versus just trying to have your browser remember the password.
Cool. That's helpful for me too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, another question we had is around, I guess, so it says, sometimes people can use a breach as a scam to get me to change my password or click a link. So if I get an email from a vendor that says I've been breached, how do I know it's real and not a scam itself?
Sure. So With everything else, always double verify. It kind of goes simple. From long ago, the scams used to be to send you an email from your bank saying we need you to update your password. Well, this goes back to training and reiterating to think before you act. Banks aren't going to contact you and say, we need to update your password, click the link. They just don't do that. They're going to contact you through mail or something along those lines. And then even if you do, use the number that you know and have on record to contact back. So if you have a vendor that you've received an email from that says, click this link, there's been a breach, obviously have the tools. Use the training to determine if it is a real email. There's ways that you can hover your cursor over certain parts to see if it seems legit. And then if you still feel uncomfortable, pick up the phone and call the number that you have on file for that vendor and call them directly and just find out. That's probably the most secure way, is to trust your gut, trust your training, trust your tools, and at the end of the day, follow that way.
So speaking of training, kind of that's been a huge piece of this presentation, and knowing that training your staff and your team is so important. So are there like training tools out there that you can like sign up for, like monthly type of thing? Is it like a one-time thing? What are those training tool options for churches right now?
Sure. So there's different approaches to it, and I know I'm kind of a big fan of the small repetitive ones. It's good to sometimes do, if you have no training, never had any training whatsoever, it's good to have maybe one kind of group session at the beginning to kick it off and do like an overall training to kind of bring people up to speed and kind of know what to expect. And then there are different types of tools and solutions that can be utilized that sends the training. It sends it through email. That can be, one topic once a month, just to keep that repetitive that I keep talking about going. And it can report back and say, these 10 people took the training. They passed the little test at the end, and we're able to to see what's going on. And they can be targeted too, where there's some that will send fake phishing emails, and if the user clicks on the link or does what they're not supposed to do, it will send them to training, and it will make them complete training before they can move on. So there's different tactics, different strategies, different tools, and it's definitely something to kind of discuss over with your organization, that to find out what fits your culture, what fits how your users are working, what works best for them, what type of learning might work best for them. Is it something that's a group presentation that might be good for your users, or if it's something along those lines that we can get one of those tools and put in place, depending on how much you want to interact into the users' daily lives. That's
great. And at Enable, we do offer security training. We offer it for our clients. We do live, staff training for your church specifically, where we can come in and train your church, but we do offer some of that automated stuff as well. So Wes, do you want to speak into any of the training that we've done with our churches and our clients?
Sure. So we have come in and done the live training before. That works well in the sense that we can come in and give a presentation. We do like to prepare a little bit for that and see if there's anything that you're specifically looking for in your training, things that are major concerns, and we can kind of target a little bit better with that. Same thing, we can do that through a webinar. And then any of the other tool sets that we have, there's ones that we've used in the past and ones that we are currently using that work great, function well. It's just a matter of figuring out, like I said, what works best with your culture.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome. We got a question from Cody that Travis is answering now. Wes, I'd love your perspective too. Is checking the sender email address a good way to check for cyber attacks?
Yes. So during the training, it will show you how to check that to make sure that that sender address is actually accurate. Make sure that it's not off by a few letters. You can look up that sometimes they can misspell a name or they can misspell a domain or something like that, invert some letters. So it looks really close, but not quite there. So looking in detail of what that sender address is a great way to know if someone is trying to get you or not get you.
And this is just personally, I, get them a lot from, I'm just subscribed to Google or Disney Plus or Amazon. And a lot of times I get confused sometimes when it will come from an email and it'll say at shop.amazon.com. And so it looks legit. It's not like they've messed it up, but it's not just amazon.com or google.com. So how could I verify that email? I mean, this is just kind of from my own experience because I've had this happen before. Do I just type that into Google to see if that's actually the email address, or because it looks legit, but it's maybe not?
Correct. So there are ways that inside of like Outlook or some other email management tools that you can actually get more detailed information on that email address, because sometimes it will mask it as an alias and it will say it's coming from shop@amazon.com. But that's really just kind of the alias or the branding that's on it versus, like if I were to send you an email, it'd say it's from Wesley Packard, but it doesn't really say my full email address. So they can mask it that way, and there's ways to click into your email manager and actually see what the actual email address is.
Got it. Cool. That's helpful. Thank you. Well, we've not gotten any more questions. If anyone wants to ask one in the next 10 seconds, we're going to wrap up early today, which is great. Wes and Travis, thank you both for helping us answer some questions. Oh, we did get another one. So I'm going to ask this one to both of you guys. Is there a way to report hacks to higher authorities, or are cyber attacks not generally considered a serious threat?
No, they are considered serious threats. And part of whenever you do have a breach, getting with your legal department, they can advise you on what needs to be reported, how it needs to be reported, what is the organization's responsibility with that. And then also working with local law enforcement, if it is something that has occurred, is extremely important. Letting them know, like my examples, the funds that were transferred. Definitely here in the state of Tennessee, we have the TBI, which is the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. They actually were involved in that one because it was such a large amount of funds that were transferred out, that it is a significant major crime for this. It's not someone, taking a small amount of dollars or anything along those lines. So yeah, legal department will absolutely advise you on that. They will help guide you with that. And then sometimes if it's a bigger scam, you might even be contacted by these law enforcement agencies for more information on what has occurred. So yes.
That's great. And Caroline had a great point that she just posted, is there are tools out there to help you catch these emails, and we use Iron Scales and love it for our own team and for our clients. So do you want to talk a little bit about Iron Scales?
Sure. So Iron Scales is great. What's really nice about it is it's doing a lot of that work that I've talked about with the training. It's doing it for you. It's looking at the email addresses and it's filtering out ones that are just known as spam and whatnot. But then it's also looking to go and see if the email address looks like it could be spoofing or whatnot, and it pops up with a nice little red bar and lets you know, and you can click on it and you can see the information. You can block it, deny it, report it. A lot of times I use this example, people will see it, they'll send an email maybe from their personal account to their work account, and like most of us, we all have very similar accounts. They're usually composed of our first and last name in some manner. Well, Iron Scales will see that maybe that looks like something that someone's trying to spoof your email address and get you to click on something, even though you sent it. And you know that. You sent the email to yourself. You know it's coming at you. But that's one of the big things that Iron Scales does, is it's pre-filtering. It's blocking a lot of what shouldn't be coming through on those. And then it's integrated into the email manager, and it's actually giving you real-time feedback on those emails as they're coming through.
Great. Awesome. I think that's a great tool. Another great tool for you guys and your church and team out that's out there for you guys to get. It's very affordable and really does work, kind of catch these cyber attacks. So, well, Wes, thank you. That was awesome. I learned a lot today. Thank you for answering my own personal question there at the end. And we're just excited that we were able to give this content to you guys. So thank y'all for being here. We've got some upcoming webinars, but we'll be posting those soon, but just keep checking back in, and we're just excited we were able to share this content with y'all. So Wes, thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Well, we'll shut it down today, and we'll see y'all next time.